We've talked about this phenomena with the psychology of people drawn to power, and we know how power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely from George Orwell. Why is it, and like we've covered this in the past with Fred Nile and his party and how that's imploding, and I hope they go through a renewal, but I just don't have a lot of faith in these party leaders. It's very frustrating, and a lot of people get very disillusioned with parties, and they don't like committing to any because they see how the very people that get drawn to power are so corrupt. But what they don't realize is, and maybe we'll finish the show with this, they don't realize that if you don't get involved, this is going to happen. It's the inevitable conclusion. What's your take on all this? Why is it so many of these parties implode like this? Is it always?
Oh, no, look, I understand. Look, let's break it down into the punters out there that just want a decent party that they can trust to look after their best interest. And I understand why they are utterly shattered. They've been let down. They've been betrayed over and over and over and over again for decades. And as we were saying before the show, they're now voting for a jersey. See, in the old days, you'd play for a team because you knew Ray Price for Parramatta, and Ray was a hard man, and Peter Sterling. These were Parramatta players through and through, and so there's a connection with the player. Now, for those younger people in the audience, you won't know Ray Price or Peter Sterling, but watching those two turn up, the sort of guys that would have a beer and a cigarette at halftime and go out and crack skulls again. League in the old days was brutal, but anyway. He used to follow the team because the team and the people. Yeah. But these days, it's there's no loyalty. They chop and change, and you start to play for a jersey. Well, what's happened with the Liberal Party, the Labor Party, the Nationals, and not so much the Greens because they've been dead for a long time. But you're voting for a coloured jersey now because the players aren't the players that they used to be. Yeah. They're not. Yeah. And so the average elector out there sort of looks at the blue and they go, oh, I vote Liberal. But then if they knew who was wearing that jersey, they wouldn't vote for him. Oh, I vote Labor, I vote for Red. If they knew who was in the jersey, they wouldn't vote for them. Yeah. And so those people are utterly disenchanted. Yeah. And I get it. It hurts. And that's what motivated me to do this. I didn't want this job. I literally didn't want it.
You had a great life. Oh, travelling and...
Man, I can tell you can pick an easier profession. Yeah. But somebody had to do it because nobody was doing it. And we put our faith in various people, and most recently Corey Bernardi, and that didn't work. And I just thought, you know what? But it does attract a particular type of person. It's the person who wants the job that shouldn't get the job, if that makes sense.
It was Thomas Sowell, if you don't mind me butting in.
Sure.
He said that if you enjoy board meetings, you shouldn't be in politics.
Oh.
It's like power. It's like they never had power before, but you've usurped it. It's like you were bullied in school, so you became a lawyer so you could bully other people.
It's extraordinary. So the people who are attracted to politics, by and large, who want to get in, and this is one of the reasons we had to set up our own party, because all the other parties were popular by people. Their primary objective was to get a job on the executive of whatever they set up.
Yeah. Malcolm Turnbull, I want to be Prime Minister.
Yeah, which party?
Don't care.
There you go. They just want it. During the talks, when I'm explaining the purpose, method, end state, and I did it on the show, and there's an end and a means to an end. And the analogy I used was, if you are trying to resolve a siege hostage situation, is your mission to save the lives of the hostages or kill the terrorists? Yeah. Now, one's an end and one is a means to an end. Yeah. I've got so many advice from people saying, you've got to get into power. That's your first objective. No, my objective is to save Australia. Getting into power is a means to an end. Yeah. And that's what they don't get. I get so many people telling me how to get into power. I know how to get into power. That's easy. Take the money, bend over, and satisfy somebody else's needs. No. That's why, and we were warned, and I'm happy with it. This is going to take longer to get going than we would like. Because it's not about getting into power, it's about saving the country. And as I said to you before, when I explained our lines of operation, we could feasibly achieve our strategic intention and never get one member of parliament elected. Yeah. That's how it's, politics is the most visible but least critical line of operation to our success. And that's the test. We don't care. We'll get in because it accelerates the process. And, you get into power, you can do things faster. Yeah. But it's the most visible but least critical. And so, unfortunately, politics attracts the people that want power. Yeah. A1 is about attracting people who want to save the country.
Yeah.
And when they ring up and say, oh, look, they'll send me their CV or they'll run down who they are and what they've done. I say, you're perfect as a candidate. And they'll say, but I know nothing about politics. And I say, even better.
You're not corrupted
the
by
last things we need are more politicians and more lawyers. No, go away, please.
It's a definition of insanity. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got, which is this. It's crap. It doesn't work for the progressives. It doesn't work for the conservatives. We're not going to move forward, you know?
We've got one job to do, that's save the country. But that's everybody's job. And that's when I was talking about you've got to transition from being the guerrilla army to the conventional army. You've got to transition from being the digital warrior to the physical warrior. You've got to take an interest in your school curriculum. You've got to take an interest in the planning for your local council. You've got to take an interest in fill in the blank. You've got to do it, folks, because it'll be taken from you. Yeah. Like they're taking Australia Day. You can't have Australia Day, but you can have Invasion Day dawn service. Yeah.
Speak up. Say this is outrageous. That's the last line. You're not getting back in if you do this. Speak your mind.
I'm in the process of writing the Australia Day address that I'm going to record shortly. And I was bouncing it backward and forwards, a couple of different approaches, and that newspaper article about the Australia Day being cancelled, but Sorry Day or whatever it is, dawn service, I'd made my mind up what I was going to do. And I won't talk about the theme now, but it's confirmed exactly what the theme of this year's Australia Day address must be, because this is going to be the last one, unless we are very, very, very careful. Unless Australians start to realise that they have to stand up and start knocking on their MP's door, start getting involved in school curriculum, start getting involved in planning, start getting involved in every aspect of political life to the level at which you are comfortable. You've got to physically get involved now. You've got to turn up to meetings and put a finger in somebody's face and say, like I've done over and over and over again, and say, the curriculum is wrong. Why are you teaching kids to masturbate and not teaching them their times tables? Yeah. And if that means the local bishop, then do it. If you're a Catholic, just for information purposes,
go for it.
They work for you. Sovereignty lies with every individual Australian. And I love saying it because it really gets the audience's attention. It doesn't matter if you're a millionaire from Point Piper or a prostitute from Emerald. You are equal. That's it. You are absolutely equal. Now, you might not be as smart, you may not be as rich, it doesn't make any difference. Either every one of us is of equal worth or not.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And if we're not, well, put your chains back on and get back into your prison cell, because that's what they have in mind for you.
It's coming, and some people will find that comforting. As long as they get to play video games and be fed and be secure and get a UBI, Universal Basic Income, like what we're getting now in Australia. What is it, $1,600 a month? Is that what people are getting on Job Seeker?
It's the Jews. Moses led them out of Egypt, and as soon as it got tough, they weren't yearning for freedom. Oh, let's go back to Egypt. At least we had food and shelter.
Yeah.
See, that's human nature. Human nature hasn't changed in thousands of years.
Yeah. And speaking about thousands of years ago, every night I read a chapter from the Bible like you do with your family. I was reading one last night. And it was Paul. This is in the book of Acts. I think it was chapter 14. Paul was in one of the Greek towns, a few Greek towns, and he was touring with some of the disciples of Jesus. And I was thinking about censorship. You know how we're censored off social media and all of that. And I was thinking, this guy is getting censored like no tomorrow. If he gets kicked out of a town, he walks back in and keeps preaching. If he gets kicked out of one town, he goes to another town and he preaches some more, even with the death threats. You know, we talk about unpersoning and being silenced like it's death. And in a way it is, but you just keep going, guys. You just keep fighting. And as you said, don't be lazy. And I guess this is what it plays into. A lot of Q people are obviously very upset this last week, and I get it, guys. I really do. I've been with you the whole time. I mean, this has been the most transparent show. You guys were with me when my dad passed. We don't get any foreign money, or we don't have any big institutional donors. We don't have any sponsors of the show, even though I'd like one, but we don't have one yet. That's the truth of it. I've been utterly transparent with you, and I finished last year's show with Romeo and you by saying, the moment I'm not transparent, I know you guys can end me. I know that. I'm not stupid. And I like it that way because you keep me accountable like we should be our politicians. But when I tell you that I've come to a conclusion on something, you can tell that I'm being honest and true. Now, this week, you know, I've talked about how I've been very discontent with the Q people, and that's my honest opinion.